You're watching Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
All right, welcome back. Jeff Harris from Bob King Automall, he's the GM, is our guest. We're talking about Car Biz and the survival of the fittest. Bob King has an impressive franchise lineup with a majority of GM brands. What have the problems that General Motors done to the GM name?
Well, right now we're going through some different, times with GM that we're going to have to figure out, what's going to stay and what's going to go. And they've talked about a few things. They're talking about keeping 4 core brands, which was Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, and GMC.
So Buick made the cut.
Yes.
Is that surprising?
No, it's not to me. Buick has I think, #1 GM brand on the market.
Really?
Yes.
Over Chevy?
Yes,
That's
I do.
surprising.
I think as far as what you get for your money, it is the best vehicle.
Well, I know it's very well rated as far as engineering goes.
Yes, it just beat out Lexus for the #1 seat for J.D. Powers and Associates. That's the first time ever.
There's been so much talk about bankruptcy and GM going away, but don't you think GM will survive in one form or another?
Oh yes, definitely. I sure do. I think that we'll be here for another 100 years, as we have been in the past.
What was the reaction at Bob King when the administration basically fired GM CEO Rick Wagner?
Well,
were you surprised?
I think at the time they needed somebody to be, as maybe you would say, the fall guy.
Take the fall?
Yes, and he was it. I don't think that any one person could make this go wrong or right. I think when you have the credit crunch on and all the other, like as you said earlier, the perfect storm come together, this is the situation that happens.
The trend away from large vehicles, we're seeing SUVs, trucks. I know you have the Hummer.
We don't. That's Rippey's.
But Hummer is also
yes, a GM product.
A GM product in a larger vehicle. What's that done to business? The trend away from trucks.
I think
trucks were a huge business for.
I think part of that is a misconception.
Really?
I think there's a lot of people that still do want the bigger vehicle, and that is where we're having a problem deciding, what people want.
What
and
direction to go?
That's right.
Are you selling? Are you selling
we
trucks?
We still
You're
are
selling SUVs.
Yes, we are.
Are they outselling smaller?
They are.
They are.
They still are outselling the cars. So it is still, and gas has moved down, so that plays a big part in that.
There's been quite a bit of rumor and speculation that some brands will go away. You just mentioned there's going to be, you didn't mention Pontiac.
No, Pontiac's going to be a niche brand.
What does that mean?
I would say more of a sporty, fast car. Yes,
cars.
yes. So it will be around too.
They're not going to do away with Pontiac. What about Hummer? Do you have any? I know it's not a brand you carry, but
they have said that they are moving towards getting away from that. At this time, I would not be inclined to say whether they will or not, but they have said that they're.
And Saturn? Those are the 3 brands that.
Yes.
Yes.
That they were moving to get away from that.
I grew up with Pontiac as a muscle car. We were talking off camera that I was big into cars as a kid. And you wonder what happens when a brand like Pontiac or Oldsmobile, which was an industry leader for more than a century, lose their edge. What happens? Where does the buck stop on that?
Well, hopefully they do what they say as far as making a niche car, and it still will be a part of the American heritage.
Like the Oldsmobile went away.
Yes.
It was I mean, there were songs written about it. Come Away With Me, Lucille, you know.
Yes.
It was a industry leader for a century. What happens? How do they lose their edge? Where does the buck stop on that?
That's a good question, Don.
I mean, do they forget to market it? Do they market it in the wrong way?
I think a little bit of both of those. I think they put their emphasis on marketing in places that is not where it needs to be, and so they lose the edge of the customer that they've had for years.
Isn't that something? Yeah. How much does brand matter? Now, when I was a kid, and I know you're not but this was before you were born probably, my family bought Dodge, and they'd trade one Dodge in, and they'd buy another Dodge.
Yes.
And the brand was, there was brand loyalty.
Yes.
What about today?
I think that is changing. That is one of the things in the industry that's changing. Brand loyalty is not as much as it was. We still do have people that come in, they have their GMCs and they want another GMC, or they have their Pontiac and they want another Pontiac. Same thing with Buick. But I think in today's market, people are very, very concerned of safety and reliability, and they're not so much concerned about brand.
It's not. So you might get someone come to Bob King. I'm looking for something in this price range.
That's right.
And it's more flexible about the brand that might fill the bill for them.
That's right.
What about foreign versus domestic? Are there some very definite choices there?
There are. With the GM brand, I think that GM has the best product line they've ever had. In the time that I've seen and been with General Motors, we have the #1 lineup that I've ever seen in our business, and it's very, very comparable to what the foreign market has. They do look at that, and they compare.
Of course, Bob King also has one of the premier brands of foreign-built cars.
That's right.
Mercedes-Benz has an amazing name. Volkswagen.
That's right.
Also a
both of them very strong.
Price range.
That's right.
But are there really any all-American cars? I mean, aren't cars parts made somewhere? It may be assembled in America. Is there any all-American?
No.
There isn't anymore.
There is not.
It's almost a fantasy, a
That's
fallacy.
right. The parts come from all over the world for all of the vehicles.
So what is this drama about domestic versus foreign when there is really?
That was a perceived concept that came up in the 80s when they said that the cars were not made as well over here, and that is a perception that is no longer.
But it's one you had to fight.
It's one we had to fight, and I think we did a good job of overcoming that. And with the 3 brands that we have a wonderful, inexpensive car to fix, a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and it is.
This is from GM, you're talking.
That's right.
We're going to come back. One of the big issues in this whole car business drama is the unions. We'll talk a little about that with Jeff Harris when we come back. Stay with us.